Will this video age poorly? Let's find out. Hey everyone, it's Sleeper PC Builds, and in today's video I want to talk about a subject that I see a lot of people mentioning about the best budget CPU for really any platform, AM4 or AM5, but I really wanted to get down to a few little things in this video on comparing the 5500 and the 5600 and why I actually think the 5600 is a better choice for budget builds on the AM4 platform, especially if you're wanting to keep it long term and you already have a good motherboard to go in. One of the major reasons on why I think the 5600 is going to outlast the 5500 is the L3 cache. Now we know that the 5500 is limited to 16 megabytes of L3 cache as opposed to the 32 on the 5600. Now that offers higher FPS on averages and 1% lows for the 5600. And with Intel's rumored larger, big last level cache new CPUs that they're coming out with in the upcoming Nova Lake Core Ultra 400 series CPUs, along with the current X3D chips offered by AMD, I think that more and more developers and games are going to be utilizing a higher level 3 cache going forward. Maybe a few years out, but going forward definitely they're going to be looking to utilize that more than what they're already doing now. And if that's the case, what's going to end up happening is the 5500 is going to continue to fall farther and farther behind than the 5600 with its standard 32 megabytes of L3 cache, let alone the X3D chips or the new Intel CPUs. Another difference, although it's very slight, is the higher boost clock that the 5600 offers as compared to the 5500. It's only 0.2 gigahertz. Even then can offer a slightly higher average FPS in certain games that really focus on higher core clocks. And I think in the future, since we're already pushing 6 gigahertz on some of the modern CPUs, going up to 7 or even 8 gigahertz in the future, that minor bump might help a little bit more. I mean, it does now, but it might help it keep to where it can last a little bit longer in the future if you're not planning on upgrading. The next thing I wanted to talk about, which is even more important than I feel than the L3 cache, is actually the PCI Express Gen that each CPU runs on. See, the 5500 is limited to PCI Gen 3, whereas the 5600 has PCI Gen 4 capabilities. Now, obviously, you have to have a motherboard that'll take advantage of that, like the X570 or B550 motherboard for the 5600. If you're on an older B450 or X470 or even older motherboard, then you would have to upgrade, which probably wouldn't make sense at that point. But if you're already on the latest motherboard for AM4, then the 5600 makes a lot more sense. It allows for faster transfer rates of your graphics cards and NVMEs. I know right now NVMEs aren't really pushed that much further past Gen 3, but it would be nice in the future that your Gen 4 SSDs can work a lot better. Another point is, if this continues to be a trend where more entry and even some mid-level graphics cards that are offered by AMD, Intel, or Nvidia continue to only use 8 lanes of the PCI that it's designed for, that will further slow down the 5500 on PCI Gen 3, especially compared to Gen 4 at only half of its lanes. In the future, again, if you plan on keeping this CPU or this platform for a long time, eventually we're going to be at PCI Gen 6, and then who knows, Gen 7 by the time that you upgrade. So only having, that PCI Gen 3, and especially if you upgrade your graphics card in the future and it's only a by 8 lane graphics card, you're really going to be slowing your performance down. Another quick note is that the 5500 doesn't support ECC as opposed to the 5600, which does. Again, even at that, you're limited to certain motherboards that can even do that. I don't think this is an issue for 99.99% of anybody that's looking at these CPUs, but it is a difference that is still favored for the 5600. Again, I don't think this should be the deciding factor on which one that you choose. Currently in 2026, the 5600 is 10 to 12% faster in multi-threaded performance, while only being about 5 to 7% faster in single-threaded performance. Although that's not as much of a gap compared to their price difference if you're just strictly looking at performance, I think that this will continue to grow further and further apart in performance differences. As games become more CPU demanding or start to exceed your VRAM usage on your graphics card, and which, to be fair, in that scenario, both cards are going to suffer, but the 5500 is going to suffer a lot more being on Gen 3 with half the bandwidth of Gen 4. You know, price is important. Your economic situation and availability in your region can affect your decision making, and I'm not going to fault anyone for choosing the 5500 over the 5600. Just know that I believe that you will be crippled more than the 5600, especially if you're going to be keeping this for long term. Right now on AliExpress, the difference between the two CPUs is roughly $30. Which is a 35% increase if you're just strictly looking at percentage, which does make the 5600 a worse FPS per dollar proposition. But you're also talking $30. I think that most people can scrounge up $30 in a month to make their system last a lot longer, if that's really what their intention is. Again, if you have an older board, the 5500 makes 100% sense. That way you don't have to change out your motherboard, spend extra money on that. But if you are on a newer motherboard, I think the 5600 really should be an option for you. Again, if budget and everything else allows. Also, if you're someone who came from the Haswell i7 4770 or K variant who looks to keep their CPUs and their platforms for 10 years, you know, this could be another option that you should heavily consider in that favor. Now, I know that is pretty much the best CPU that you could have got for Haswell, but if you are looking to save some money and you're not looking to spend, you know, close to triple on an X3D version as far as a top of the line 5800 X3D, then this might be an option for you. If I were to pull out a crystal ball and really guess, I think that the next generation of GPUs is going to further that gap on the performance difference between the CPUs. I suspect probably a 15 to 25% favor for the 5600 as opposed to 7 to 15% is what I think. That, you know, and that's one generation. Where is it going to be in 2 or 3? Is it going to be, you know, 20 to 30%? Is it going to be, you know, then on to 30 or 40%, which, you know, is looking like we're going to be covering our 35% increase now. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see on that. Another last recommendation, I still think that 8 cores is going to be the future for gaming and everything. It's what consoles are going to. The rumored AMD CPUs are going to be a minimum of 8 CPUs now instead of 6, so game developers are obviously going to be pushing that harder. So I really think that maybe an 8-core CPU is going to do it. I know the budget is definitely, you know, we're getting close to almost double the price of a 5500. You know, if we're looking at a 5700X or better CPU, but I really think that that's going to be the sweet spot if I were to have to guess for the future. I'm just giving you an extra little option here, just in case that's something that you might be interested in to further future-proof yourself, but still remain relatively cheap. Like, I was able to get a 5800 XT shipped with taxes to my door from AliExpress for $149. So yes, it's 75% more money than a 5500 currently, and that's not even including shipping or taxes. So really, it's probably more like 55 or 60% more expensive. for what, 20 to 30% more performance right now, and it's 8 cores. It's going to have a lot more breathing room for the future. To me, that was a no-brainer, but for you and different people, I understand. You have to live within your budget. Also, I would not sleep on any of the X3D chips if that is even an option for you. Even the 5500 X3D, although the name can be confusing compared to the 5500, it is not limited to Gen 3 like the 5500 is. It is a full Gen 4. It's got the full 96 megabytes of L3 cache. It is an extremely good AM4 gaming CPU. Again, no problem with any of the X3D chips there. The TLDR is if you're on a strict budget, you're already on an older B450 or X470 motherboard, or even older, if you do plan on upgrading a GPU that only has 16 lanes of full bandwidth as opposed to some of the half 8 slots or 8 lane GPUs that a couple of the manufacturers have been doing lately, as long as those things don't really affect you or that's your limitation, then the 5500 is perfectly fine. I think if you are able to stretch your budget a little bit, I think the 5600 really is going to pay off for it, and especially if you get one that's an 8-core 5700X or better, I really think that is going to be the sweet spot. Also, if you don't plan on upgrading for a really long time, could be another reason to sway you over to a better CPU as opposed to just the cheapest, basically AM4 CPU that you can get right now. I'll give you a list of some of the CPUs that I recommend over the 5500. Again, check them out, see what you can find in your local market, even used online retailers, AliExpress, Newegg, Amazon, whatever's in your area that you can get. I just wanted to say thank y'all for stopping in with me today and listening to me go on about this subject. I just feel like there's been a lot of talk about the 5500 and the 5600 is being ignored. I do not think people should be sleeping on this one, especially if you're budget oriented. I think it's really going to pay off in the future, and I just wanted to go over a few of the differences in there and why I think that the 5600 is better than the 5500. If y'all have any questions, concerns, I know I've done a couple of talking head videos now, twice in a row. I'm still in the process of moving, so that's been taking a lot of my time. And again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, things you want to see, don't want to see, I get it. Let me know. I wanna get back into it. I'm not sure if my next video is going to be a build video or not yet. I've got lots of builds lined out. I just need to get the moving done, figured out where I'm going to be building them, because right now I don't have any place to build them at my house. The garage is packed, so once we get that done, I should be able to build some, but it may be at the new place, so we'll see. If not, you'll have another talking head video on another subject that I wanted to bring up. But thank you for coming along. Goodbye.